Hi everyone. For my favorite personality thing, I chose the needs of hierarchy theory. Um, and by the way, my name is Emma Kersey. And even though we did discuss Abraham Maslow in class, I wanted to take that topic and kind of dive a little deeper into the current applications and the relevant pieces to it that really intrigued me and brought me towards this and why it became my favorite personality thing. So, Abraham Maslow, he grew up in a troubling time for the world, being born in 1908. If you think about being born in 1908, he faced World War One, World War Two, the Great Depression, Cold War, Vietnam War. So he basically dealt with war and struggle up until the 70s, just that, being within a society that was struggling with that. Maslow was born into a family that were Jewish, and um, that really plays a role into his feelings towards himself and the world's feelings about um, his uh, religious or um, really any kind of view that could put you in a minority group, how that influences a person. And I was really interested in how growing up in 1908 relates to growing up in today's generation. While we don't have as extreme world wars and such, we are dealing with different life changing events of um, living through the pandemic has been significant for our generation. And generally, growing up in a time of violence, especially when you're a minority, certain groups are targeted in certain parts of the world. So that is a huge influence even still today. Maslow created the hierarchy of needs in 1943, which during 1943 is World War II. So when he published this, the population distribution on the scale was probably most were struggling with physiological needs and safety needs due to the war. There was a lot of food rations. Shelter was at risk because of constant bombings. Clothing was even like fabric was rationed. Everything was, and then employment with the Great Depression, health, property. There was really a huge significance, and even family losing family members to the war. And this is really important for the time being. And Maslow created this because he felt like he lacked control in his childhood. Um, Often his mother was described as being really mean and just overall a terrible person to him. So he felt like he lacked that control as a child, which inspired this level of needs. And there's these 5 levels: physiological safety, love, esteem, and self actualization. And the way I really wanted to dive into this is how this is relevant to today's world. So, Abraham Maslow is the 10th most cited psychologist of the 20th century, meaning his most well known theory is his hierarchy of needs theory, which is why he's cited so often because this is so relevant. And thinking about even like today going on with COVID, I wanted to take a look at the hierarchy of needs and how COVID is influencing those. So, it's relevant across the whole world, but as college students, this is probably the most um, common and constant one we're facing is COVID going on the past 2 years now. Um, so, with COVID, a lot of our safety needs are being threatened. A lot of us have lost jobs. Our health is at risk, especially if you have autoimmune disease, and uh, even just health in general of your family members, which ties into your love and belongingness. And even some people, because they've lost their jobs, have faced food insecurity and homelessness. So this is very relevant. And if we examine how this was being faced back when Maslow created this, we are also stuck in these bottom 2 tiers facing this pandemic. And this is why we have been at a standstill, really, the past couple years, we haven't seen a lot of self-actualization. We've seen a lot of concern with safety, physiological needs, and overall health. So we haven't been able to progress as a society all the way up, which we're probably going to see this for a little bit longer, but hopefully soon be able to start reaching our self-actualization needs for each individual person. And the pandemic has affected us so much that a third of Americans struggle with basic needs, and 23% of students face food insecurity, and 15% face homelessness. So this is a very relevant issue that I believe the hierarchy of needs can help explain why we're in this bottom level and we're trying to work up, but this pandemic is holding us back. Below, I have listed my references for the stats I found, and I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for listening.